Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday, August the 26th, 2024, and it is 7 o'clock p.m. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Board of School Directors of Upper Dublin, the legislative meeting for the month of August. And Ms. Evans, if you could call the roll, please.
Ms. Evans.
Present.
Ms. Ionetti.
Present.
Mr. Held.
Present.
Ms. Redding.
Present.
Ms. Sharpier.
Present.
Dr. Thomas.
Present.
Mr. Sirota.
Present.
Mr. Warschauer.
Present.
Mr. Wallach.
Present.
All present. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone, and welcome. It is the August legislative meeting, and it's kind of a new beginning as the new school year is starting. So this is our first meeting in a sense for the 24-25 school year. We'll have some of our regular things on the agenda. We do have a couple of personnel matters on our agenda tonight that we'll get to that are very exciting. As the school year starts, I, along with Mr. Held, had the privilege of being at convocation this morning that started everything for the school district and all the faculty and employees. And I think I can summarize it by just saying that the spirit and the energy was infectious. And we all look forward to a great school year going forward. And I don't want to steal any of Dr. Smith's thunder, so I'll just leave it at that. And we'll move forward to our reports and presentations. Our student representative is still on summer break for another week approximately. So we'll go right to Dr. Smith and her superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Wallach. And I do have some slides tonight actually for my superintendent's report to go through a couple of topics, but it was our opening day with our staff today, so a really exciting day, and I'll share a little bit of that before we conclude. I'll just share this picture. This year we invited some of our high school students to come back to our convocation, and they formed a gauntlet as all of our staff walked into the Performing Arts Center here and just cheered on our staff, and I think it would, it really helped the smiles and people felt really welcome. So that was a nice addition this year. So the three updates that I have for you are administrative restructuring. Then Mrs. Puste is actually going to help me out and do federal programs, and then I'll talk about the opening of schools. So we'll talk a little bit about some restructuring that we have done here. We have sitting here at the table for the first time tonight at a legislative meeting is our new assistant superintendent, Julian Drennan. So we're glad to have her here with us. And then our director of communications, Mrs. Stephanie Yoder, she actually will start with the district on the 28th. Which is Wednesday of this week. So we're excited for her to be coming, and we've done some transition work with her already. Those were two positions that were discussed, I believe, back in April and May, and that we posted and have completed the hiring process for those two. And then moving on, we have the Chief Academic Officer position, which did exist here in the district, but was recently vacated. And through our conversations and some of the new positions that we have, we began to discuss what might be some of the needs of the school district and how could we restructure that particular position to better meet the needs of where we currently are as a district. And so that position has been restructured into the Director of Data and Strategic Partnerships. That was a position that was posted. It has three main areas of responsibility. The first one being data analysis and student outcomes, whether that be at a district level, a school, a grade level, a teacher, or an individual student level, and then really looking at that data, analyzing it, and helping us to determine what might action plans look like so that we can continue to improve on those student outcomes. Systems being involved in looking at data and different systems that we have throughout the district to how can we move forward with those, and then really working on strategic partnerships. We have lots of community members, businesses, organizations, and this role will be a liaison to those places to help bring together opportunities that will benefit our students. So really excited to shift that Chief Academic Officer to the Director of Data and Strategic Partnerships. And our recommended candidate, if you click again, is Dr. Daniel Ortiz, and we're really excited to have him be joining the district level team and taking all of his leadership skills and experiences and broadening them of reach across the district. And we'll have an opportunity for him to share a little bit later. But that is one restructuring, and then given that recommendation tonight, you'll notice we have a Sandy Run principal position open, but I do want to share with you the organizational chart for the school district, and you'll notice that that new director position, and I shouldn't say new, it is just a restructuring of an existing position, is aligned under the assistant superintendent. She, Mrs. Drennan, works with our director of student services, director of teaching and learning, this director position, and then our director of innovation and technology. So again, just a restructuring of that chief academic officer position, but that's where it falls on our organizational chart as well. I will also point out here that we did an analysis of the number of administrators in the district over the past several years. You can see back in 2019, there was the superintendent position and 40 administrators in the district across all of the different departments. I've shared with you then 23-24, which was the year in which I joined Upper Dublin in December, and we had 34 administrators and one superintendent, and then you can see moving into 24-25, we've added the assistant superintendent position, and then that director of communications is the other position that took it from 34 to 35. So we have seen an increase of the two positions that were added into the budget this year, but I would just point out that it is still lower than where we were several years ago in terms of the number of administrators, and I firmly believe that the roles that we have created will better serve the district. So then that does lead us to, with Dr. Ortiz's recommendation, we need a leader for Sandy Run Middle School, and we also posted that position and are very excited to recommend tonight. And if you click one more time, our recommended candidate is Mrs. Jennifer Nuske. She has served as a house principal at Sandy Run for the past year and a half, I think, and prior to that did some administrative experience in the Philadelphia School District, and she's just been a wonderful addition to Sandy Run and is ready to take the helm and lead them into the future, and there's a significant amount of staff support for her leadership in that building as well. So we're very excited for her today. Those will both be on the agenda a little bit later under personnel. You will see we are asking the board to, they actually have to take action to abolish that other position that was called Chief Academic Officer, create the director position, appoint Dr. Ortiz, and then appoint Mrs. Nuske. So it flows in the personnel agenda. But excited for those, and we'll get to them in a little bit. And then Mrs. Puste, if you wouldn't mind, there are a couple items on the agenda this evening that are related to federal programs agreements, and we just thought we would give the board a very brief update on each of these 4 federal programs. Thank you.
So this is the time of year where we complete our consolidated application, which is our federal funding for Titles 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you'll see, like Dr. Smith said on our agenda this evening, some agreements with our Montgomery County Intermediate Unit that help and partner with us to help with those funds, especially for our non-public schools that are also receive those funds from us. So I want to go through what each of those titles are, what the allocations are for each of those titles, so you have an understanding of how much is provided through federal funds and what we are using those federal funds for. So Title I is for supplemental services, especially designed to help children meet academic standards. Since I've been here in the district, Thomas Fitzwater has been the only school within Upper Dublin who has qualified. There have been other schools in the district in the past that have qualified as a Title I school, but Thomas Fitzwater is our school that qualifies this year. In years past, we've used our allocation funding for reading support, but we have 2 exceptional reading specialists at Thomas Fitz, and this year we want to provide the same level of intervention for our students who also need math support. So with our allocation, which is $126,940, we're hoping that we are going to be using that money for a math interventionist in the same way that we provide reading support. We do not have any non-public schools in our sending area that qualified for Title I services, so that's why you will see that there's not an allocation in Title I for any non-public schools within our area. So that is what we will be using our Title I funds for this year. So Title II is providing financial assistance to our school district to improve the skills of our teachers and our staff within our district. Really, it's professional development. It's all centered around professional development. So we do have 3 non-public schools within our sending area. They receive a portion of the funds depending on their enrollment, and the amount of money that we're allocating to our non-public schools is $8,153 and some change. This year for Title II, we will be partnering with professional learning partnerships, which is Julia Skolnick and her team. They've come and helped us with comprehensive planning. She's done work with our administrators this summer, and we'll be continuing that work with a series of professional development centered on brain science and how that has a role in what we do within our classrooms with our students on a daily basis. The other rest of the money from Title II will be for University of Delaware. We have funded for our University of Delaware partnership for elementary. That money will be coming through a different grant called Ready to Learn. However, the funds that we would like to use for Title II will be specifically allocated towards our student services, special education teachers, and some of our secondary teachers to really work with them on coaching for professional development with our illustrative mathematics. So the funds that you see there for University of Delaware is really geared towards our student services department and also our secondary teachers with illustrative mathematics to keep that coaching going on and continuing to learn from them. You will see an agreement, for Title II tonight, which is our agreement to work with the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit with our non-public schools. So the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit partners with us to provide those professional development opportunities to our 3 non-public schools as well. So that's the agreement that you will see this evening. For Title III, we are part of a consortium with the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, meaning really they take care of the grant application and then they allocate the funds to the school districts in Montgomery County. So our allocation this year, which we just received last week, is $1,809. We have not decided at this point exactly what we will be using that money for, but in the past we have used it for what you see up there, professional development through the MCIU, which they've already sent us some really great professional development opportunities for our ELD teachers and for our staff. We also use it for supplies. We've purchased translators in the past that our offices have used along with our teachers and our students. And then we also look at ELD subscriptions. So you will see on the agenda this evening an MOU for Upper Dublin School District and the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, which is an annual MOU that we fill out in order for MCIU to help provide us services in the consortium. And then finally, Title IV, our allocation usually hovers about $10,000. This year we're $10,318. And really there are 3 buckets that you are looking to allocate funds for Title IV. They fall into well-rounded education, improving school conditions, or improving the use of technology. Our funds this year are really going to be centered on that well-rounded education. That's the bucket that we are applying for federal funds through. So our non-pub allocation, our 3 non-pubs will receive a portion, and that's $1,485 based on their enrollment. We have already attended the Data Forward Summer Institute with Linkit, which really is about how do we use our data. How do we use Linkit to help us use our data to inform our instruction? So there were 4 of us who attended that workshop already this summer, and that was myself. Brita Vandergriff, who is here this evening, is our supervisor of humanities, and we also took 2 principals, one which was Dan Ortiz, which fits in nicely with his new position, and then Nick Perez, who is the principal of Maple Glen Elementary. And then finally, the remainder of that money is really being used for our Linkit benchmarks and professional development from Linkit that really helps us to look at how can we best use our data to inform the instruction that's going on in our classroom. Again, you'll see an item on the agenda this evening, the agreement with the MCIU to provide those services to our non-public schools.
Thank you, Mrs. Piste.
Thank you.
So then moving on to the last topic I wanted to share about, which was our convocation today and a welcome back for all of our teachers and our staff. We flipped everything this year, and staff actually started in their school buildings, which they seem to really appreciate, and their principals-led activities. And then after lunchtime, we joined here in the high school for our convocation. And I just threw up there on the screen a couple of things that were some of the messages today. We had a really nice video with some administrators and staff members dancing to Justin Timberlake's "Can't Stop the Feelin'," because we know that it's going to be a great year this school year. My message really focused on an opportunity to reset and reflect upon what's really gone well, and prioritize for moving forward, recharging ourselves, and fueling that flame of passion for each of us, and then building relationships with our students and with our colleagues, and helping everybody to feel safe and a sense of belonging. I know it's not grammatically correct up there, but from the song "Fire" by Gavin DeGraw, this is "We on Fire," and that was kind of what I tried to leave them with, that we on fire, because Upper Dublin is amazing, and we're just going to keep moving forward and continuing to grow. And I will give a shout out to Bloom, which is the vendor that we purchase our Chromebooks from. They sponsored the funding for an ice cream social to end the day for our staff after we went outside and did what I'll call a unity activity. And if you go to the next slide, I'm giving you a sneak peek. We did move outside all of our staff from the entire district. From the PAC, we went out to the stadium, and you can see that we formed the letters UD on the stadium. And thanks to Mr. Tranis and his skills, we had our drone flying over, and we hope to turn this into an opportunity as a poster or something to display in all of our school buildings to represent our unity, and that we all belong here regardless of any differences that we may have. So that was a really nice way. And this was all staff. So this could have been food service workers, custodians, bus drivers, educational assistants, teachers, administrators, anybody who was able to be there today was included in that. And I'll end with, I believe, the next screen. Well, I'm not really ending, but if we click this, you'll see it form. It's short, but cute. We look like little flies moving around. How well we did. And then I think the last slide here should just have that we are ready for our students. They come back to school next week, September 3rd. And I think one more click is going to show a nice little, I believe, TikTok from Thomas Fitz. They coordinated a nice little welcome back to send to their families. So we are excited for the year. We had a lot of positive feedback today. I think a good energy moving into the year. So appreciate all of the support of the administrative team to get everything ready today. And our teachers are excited for our students to return next week. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Not too many meetings do we go from Justin Timberlake to Gavin DeGraw to Frank Sinatra, but I think we covered all of the bases right there. Seriously, thank you for all that, Dr. Smith. Next up is our first opportunity for public participation. This is for action items or agenda items only. If anyone would like to address the board, please come up, state your name and city of residence, or affirm you are a resident or taxpayer of the district, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes. I am not seeing anyone approaching, so I will close our first opportunity for public participation. There'll be a second one later on. And we'll keep going on our agenda. First up, we have our minutes. We have minutes from our June 24th legislative meeting and also from our July 22nd special legislative meeting. The minutes of both those meetings have been distributed to the board. So if I could get a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Mr. Sirota, thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Ms. Iannitti, thank you so much. Questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. Next, we'll move to our Education Committee recommendations, and Ms. Sherpier.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wallach. We have a number of items, 7, Since we didn't have a meeting in July, some of those are, or most of those are new items, but Ms. Poustet highlighted a couple of them already. So I'm going to make a motion that we pass items A through G, and then after there's a second, we'll have some opportunity for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sherpier. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Held, thank you so much. Questions or comments from the board? Sherpier?
Yeah, with the MCIU MOU, do the non-public schools have an opportunity to request certain training, or is this something that the district identifies as something that we want for them to have? What's the relationship in those for the MCIU agreements?
From my experience, it's certainly, Mrs. Drennan, you can add to this. The MCIU works with the non-pubs to provide the offerings that they have available. I'm sure they solicit input into maybe what their needs are as well. And then those costs that may be associated with participating in that professional development are what is then charged back to the allocations that come out of our pieces. Anything to add, Mrs. Drennan?
And during that meeting, one of the things that the non-public schools does is they identify their priorities for professional development and best practice in their schools. And then they have an option to either select from things the IU is already preparing to offer to any members in the county, or the IU coordinates with them to come to their schools and deliver something that's been created just for their own needs.
Thank you. And then item C, the pilot materials. Can we have a little bit more information on that?
So this was well underway when I came. Mr. Missioner is working with a large team of teachers who have volunteered to pilot FOSS materials in their classrooms. Many of those teachers are also implementing math this year, so we were really heartened to see how many people were willing to go ahead and pilot the FOSS materials as well. This is in direct response to the shift in the state standards and a need for us to be able to increase students' hands-on experiences and thinking processes as scientists themselves in the classroom.
And I seem to remember that there was an issue if we, at the end of the pilot, if we need to return those materials, or can we keep those materials? What is the outcome of that conversation?
Yes, I've had this experience in a prior district as well. FOSS does expect that if you do not adopt their program, you will return those classroom items. So there's an actual contract that you enter into with them, guaranteeing that you'll return the items should you not move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ms. Sherpier. Anyone else? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Excellent. Next, we'll move to our Finance Committee recommendations and Mr. Sirota.
Thank you. We have 16 items under our Finance Committee recommendations tonight. All of these were discussed last week at the Finance Committee in depth, except for the last one, item P, which is our regular monthly payments. That covers 2 months this month because we did not have a legislative meeting last month. So with that, I would like to make a motion to approve items 6A through P.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sirota. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Ms. Evans, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Next, we'll move to our Personnel Committee recommendations that will include some of which Dr. Smith touched on and Ms. Redding.
So yes, we have an exciting personnel committee recommendations. I'd like to move on a motion to approve A through H, which includes an abolish of a position of Chief Academic Officer and a creation of a position of Director of Data and Strategic Partnerships, and two very special appointments of Director of Data and Strategic Partnership, and the appointment to Sandy Run Middle School Principal and inclusion of F, G, and H. So I'd like to make a motion to pass those 8 agenda items.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Redding. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Ms. Iannitti, thank you so much. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor? Ms. Sharpier.
I just want to make a quick comment that I really want to express appreciation to the leadership of the district for making this transition and making this opportunity go before school starts, because I think that's really pretty impressive how fast and how thorough that was thought out. So many thanks for that.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Dr. Ortiz, Ms. Nusky, welcome. Well, you're not. Congratulations. Welcome to your new positions. It's a privilege and a pleasure to have you both take on new roles. And if either of you would like to make some comments, we'd love to hear from you. Dr. Ortiz, if you want to bat first, so to speak.
There we go. First, I would just like to extend my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to the entire board, to Dr. Smith, to Ms. Drennan, the entire administration. I'm thrilled. As many of you know, I've spent most of my career and most of my life in Upper Dublin, personally and professionally, and we're hoping that just some of the relationships, the work, the progress, the culture that we've built in different schools along the way, we can extend across the entire district. And I'm very excited to work with all 6 of our buildings, with our central office leadership, and with the greater Upper Dublin community as a whole. And to Ms. Sherbier's point, I'm just, as both a resident and as an employee, I'm thrilled that for our kids' benefit for the first day of school, we're in a really, really great position as a school and as a district. And so I just appreciate all of you, the opportunity given, and I'm just really, really excited to get started because there are some great things that are sure to come. So thank you all very, very much.
Ms. Nusky, no pressure. But
Good evening, Upper Dublin School Board, Dr. Smith, Mrs. Drennan, and the entire Upper Dublin community. I am deeply honored to stand before you this evening as the newly appointed principal of Sandy Run Middle School. That gives me chills to say. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the board for entrusting me with this significant role. Your confidence in me is both inspiring and humbling, and I am truly excited about the journey ahead. I'd like to thank each of you for your time, for your effort and dedication you invest every day in ensuring the success of our school district. And your commitment to our education, to the students of Upper Dublin, and their well-being is clearly evident. And it is a privilege to be a part of this community and to be such a part of a supportive and forward-thinking board. As I step into this role, I am keenly aware of the responsibility that is being asked of me and for my give back to our community. My vision for Sandy Run Middle School is to continue to build upon the strong foundation built and led by Dr. Dan Ortiz, and by continuing to create an environment that is both an area where students feel valued and empowered, and where learning is engaging and meaningful, and where every challenge is met with the spirit of collaboration and resilience. I am eager to work alongside our talented staff, this incredible community, and more importantly, our phenomenal students. I believe that success in education is a collective effort, and I'm looking forward to continuing to create strong relationships with all of our stakeholders. Together, we will continue to foster a positive relationship and work to continue to drive our academic excellence and support the holistic development of our middle school students. Once again, thank you for this incredible opportunity. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ortiz. Thank you, Ms. Nusky, and we look forward to great things from both of you this year and many years in the future. With that, we'll keep moving on our agenda. Next, we have our pupil services recommendations. Item G under our pupil services recommendation is going to be tabled this evening. It'll be pending a motion at a future board meeting. But all of the other items in this section have been presented to the board, and I will make a motion to approve items A through F and items H and I. And is there a second for my motion?
I will second that.
Mr. Sirota, thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent, motion carries. Next up is our policy committee recommendations. Ms. Ioniti, I don't believe anything was carried from our policy committee meetings, so there are no motions this evening, is that correct?
That's correct. Everything was sent back for a first reading, and that meeting's coming up very soon.
Excellent, thank you so much. One announcement that I would like to make with regard to our policy committee is, as people know, certain board members are on certain committees and sit in that capacity to create a quorum, be able to vote to move things to this legislative meeting. Sometimes during the year, things change and people have to be switched around and things like that. For reasons that have nothing to do with the policy committee, nothing to do with Upper Dublin, Mr. Warschauer will be rotating off of the policy committee effective in September, and Mr. Held has graciously agreed to take his spot. And as everyone knows, and if anybody's ever been to any of our policy committee meetings or any of our committee meetings, everybody chimes in and everybody talks. So if you're not on a committee, everybody still has an opportunity. We know Mr. Warschauer will still chime in on policy, and we thank Mr. Held for taking on that voting role going forward. With that, we have one item of other business, and I will ask Mr. Sirota to take that.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Ms. Redding and Mr. Wallach to participate in the 2024 PSBA Delegate Assembly.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sirota. Do I have a second to that?
I'll second.
Mr. Held, thank you so much. Questions or comments from the board? Redding and I will appreciate that in November. No, I'm kidding. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much, and we will do our best to represent our district at that delegate assembly in the fall. Next up is our solicitor's report and Sunshine Act announcements. Mr. Diazio.
Thank you. The board has met in executive session twice since the legislative meeting in June. The board met on July 22nd, and the topic of that executive session was the administrative reorganization and the positions that were approved this evening. The board also met in executive session tonight, August 26th. There was a discussion regarding the special education and educational agreement settlements that were on the agenda for tonight. And the board also had discussions about the personnel agenda, all of the items that were acted upon earlier in the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Diazio. Appreciate it. Next up is our second opportunity for public participation. This is for any topic. If anyone would like to address the board, please come up, state your name and city of residence, or affirm that you are a resident or a taxpayer of the district. And Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes. I do not see anyone approaching, so I will close our second opportunity for public participation. I will announce we did not receive any written comments. We now have an opportunity for any comments from the board or the administration. I will just make one, and that's to Ms. Drennan. Welcome to sitting up here at the table with us for your first meeting. So glad to have you up here. We have our informational items, our enrollment report. We have our liaison committee reports. Some of those are less informational just because of summer breaks. Do any liaisons have anything to add other than what is in their written reports? No, great. We did have monthly committee meeting minutes that were approved at the committee level, June 5th for both education and policy and June 18th for finance. And we do have upcoming meetings. Things will happen a little bit quicker as we roll into September. So our next education committee meeting will be next Wednesday, September the 4th at 6 o'clock. Policy committee will be that same day at 7 o'clock or immediately following. Finance committee is Wednesday, September the 18th at 6 o'clock. And our next legislative meeting will be Monday, September the 23rd at 7 o'clock. We all wish all of the faculty, staff, administration, everybody a great school year. To all of our students, knock 'em dead. And with that, we're adjourned.